Next news, breaking news.
Breaking right now, the most explosive government document dump in modern American history has just dropped, and what it reveals will shake Washington to its very foundation. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has declassified the smoking gun evidence proving what we've been saying for years. The first Trump impeachment was a manufactured deep state coup. The so-called whistleblower, remember the guys whose name you couldn't even say on social media platforms? Eric Ciaramella secretly apologized for misleading investigators, admitted he had zero firsthand knowledge, and that apology was buried while Democrats proceeded to try to overthrow a sitting president. And here's the kicker. He worked directly for Joe Biden. Are you ready for the truth that they tried to hide forever? You see, this isn't just about what happened to President Trump years ago. This is about what they tried to do to you. When unelected bureaucrats in the intelligence community can manufacture a fake scandal, weaponize the whistleblower process, and attempt to remove the president that you elected, that's not just an attack on one man, that's an attack on every single American who cast a ballot. So think about what this means for your entire family and your community, and your voice. If they can get away with this, no election is safe. No vote actually matters. The deep state simply overrides the will of the people whenever they don't like the outcome. These newly declassified documents prove that the IC Inspector General ignored Department of Justice guidance, altered whistleblower forms to remove first-hand knowledge requirements, and transmitted a complaint based entirely on second-hand hearsay and outright lies to a Congress that was already in on the scheme. Adam Schiff, remember that guy? He stood on the House floor and he lied to America, claiming he didn't know the whistleblower while his staff had already been coordinating with him. Yeah, Eric Ciaramella. This was a coordinated coup attempt, and now we finally have the receipts. And I'm going to give you every one. And speaking of the deep state trying to control our nation's future, there is another battle for American independence that's happening right now, and it involves our critical mineral supply chains. This breaking news out of the White House, they just announced over $30 billion to secure America's critical mineral supply chains, and they named a specific Alaskan project as a key strategic asset for U.S. mineral independence. I have personally been to the Vizsla copper drilling site in Canada myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. What's happening right now is bigger than most people can actually fathom. You see, President Trump, he has just unveiled Project Vault. We've covered it here on the channel. It's a $12 billion strategic minerals reserve that's designed to stockpile essential resources and keep America free from foreign dependence. This is exactly the kind of America First policy that we've been fighting for. It's what we voted for. And Vizsla Copper is positioning itself directly at the center of this national security priority. Now, you can find them trading in the United States under VCUFF and in Canada as VCU.V. Now, I want you to check out the exclusive briefing. It's linked below so you can understand why this Alaskan copper project matters for American sovereignty. We thank them for supporting this program. Now, let's get back to the deep state exposure that is rocking Washington as we speak. I'm going to tell you what makes this even more explosive. The exculpatory transcripts, the evidence that could have cleared President Trump before the impeachment trial even began, were literally locked in a safe. They were hidden from the president's own defense team. They were hidden from Congress, and they were hidden from you. It took House Intelligence Chairman Rick Crawford forcing their release just weeks ago on March 24th to finally bring the evidence to light. And there's more damning information in these documents that proves just how deep the conspiracy went. Bombshell documents hidden from public view have now been released. Holy God. The impeachment whistleblower CIA analyst Eric Ciaramella, who Adam Schiff covertly conspired with in an attempt to overthrow a sitting president of the United States, apologized for accusing Trump and misleading the probe involving a call with Ukraine. Remember the call with Ukraine? Trump, it was a perfect call. It was a perfect call. The most perfect call ever. Most perfect phone call I've ever had. Right? How many times do we hear him have to go and say that? Accused Trump. Apologized for accusing Trump and misleading the probe involving that call. Unfrickin' real. I do not have direct knowledge of private comments or communications by the president. Direct quote. Why is this guy not in prison? Someone explain that to me, please. Apparently he worked with Joe Biden. In other words, that apology was kept secret while the Democrat-led impeachment continued to overthrow the sitting president of the United States. Here's the director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
I can tell you one thing that we've learned very clearly, and that is that the Inspector General for the intelligence community can provide no information about the contacts between the HIPC majority and the whistleblower prior to his involvement. So the only way that we'll be able to get that information is from the HIPC majority themselves. They are fact witnesses in the same investigation that they are now running. Nowhere else in the United States of America can you be both a fact witness and the prosecutor or investigation in anything, much less an investigation to remove a president from office. It's entirely inappropriate, and Chairman Schiff should be disqualified from running an investigation where his committee members or staff are fact witnesses about contact with the whistleblower and the whistleblower process.
Eric Ciaramella's secret apology reveals the shocking missteps in the whistleblower accusation. Now let's go to John Solomon uncovering the deep state's next move involving Joe Biden. Here's John Solomon says, as soon as President Trump was cleared on Russia collusion, a CIA analyst filed a complaint based on complete hearsay and on a whistleblower that was caught lying. Newly released documents show that the whistleblower had worked for Joe Biden, and that key exculpatory evidence was withheld from Congress, the public, and even the president's defense team. John Solomon reporting. Just the news.
As soon as President Trump was cleared on Russia collusion by Bob Mueller, the deep state went right back to work. A CIA analyst filed a complaint that we now know, as of this morning for the first time, was based only on hearsay evidence, was based on a whistleblower who was caught lying, giving a falsehood to his intelligence community recipients, the people who received his whistleblower, who had clear biases, including the fact that he worked for Joe Biden, Donald Trump's likely rival in 2020. And despite all that, they proceeded ahead and forwarded this allegation, these unfounded allegations from a biased and flawed whistleblower to Congress. And then that exculpatory evidence, that evidence that the president could have used to defend himself at the impeachment or the impeachment trial, was kept from the American public, was kept from Congress. Does not look like even his lawyers knew that. How does that happen? Well, you start with a whistleblower that's tied to Joe Biden. That's what these documents that Tulsi Gabbard declassified at our request and gave to us this weekend show. He was a Joe Biden sycophant. He was actually on trips with Joe Biden to Ukraine. He was an advisor to the president. He disliked Republicans. He made fun of Republicans and badmouthed them. He didn't want Devin Nunes to see his complaint in Congress, the then top Republican on House Intelligence. So you have a biased partisan whistleblower who then gives it to a deep state inspector general, intelligence community inspector general Michael Atkinson, who then decides he's not going to tell Congress the full story about this whistleblower. A few minutes ago, shortly after our story broke overnight, Tulsi Gabbard released to the House Intelligence Committee some new evidence. It's the actual interview of Michael Atkinson. Michael Atkinson's the inspector general who catches the whistleblower's complaint, disseminates it to Congress, and really kicks off the Ukraine impeachment or Russia collusion 2.0. He did not tell Congress in his interview the full extent of what he knew and what was wrong with the whistleblower. He didn't go into the biases or the Biden angle. All he said was he was a registered Democrat. Didn't give any more detail than that. There were really significant details that people needed to make a judgment on his credibility before we tried to remove a president from office. But that was kept by Atkinson. So these two actors, a CIA analyst tied to Joe Biden and an intelligence committee inspector general, keep the public in the dark and allow that scandal to burgeon without the evidence of exculpatory evidence, without the evidence that would balance out the picture of who this man was and what was going on. I interviewed Alan Dershowitz for this story. He was one of the president's impeachment lawyers in 2019. He was a Democrat at the time. He said, listen, in an adversarial justice system, which, by the way, includes impeachment. Impeachment is a judicial proceeding in Congress. In fact, in this case, they were supposed to use the same rules that you use in federal court. They're called the rules of civil procedure. It is incumbent on the government to give up all exculpatory evidence. And that didn't happen here, Alex. Alan Dershowitz said. He said it was a travesty to justice, a travesty to the American people, that the government, particularly Michael Atkinson and this whistleblower, hid this exculpatory evidence from the president, the American people, and quite frankly, the Senate jurors and the House impeachment managers. So that's where we are now. I expect a lot of developments in the next few hours on this story. I wouldn't be surprised if the name of the whistleblower eventually is released. And I also wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some actions taken based on these revelations. The president or his team could go to the Chief Justice, John Roberts. Remember, John Roberts presided over the impeachment proceedings. He was the trial judge, and say, hey, the Democrats, Adam Schiff, the chief prosecutor, cheated on this. Maybe you should consider erasing or reversing the impeachment.
Yep. You
could also see the FBI or the new Inspector General of the Intelligence Committee take a look at whether what Michael Atkinson did by withholding some of this exculpatory evidence, whether that is a problem, whether it's prosecutable, whether it's an administrative thing. But I think you'll see some significant follow-up to these revelations today.
Oh, my God. Do you understand? That entire impeachment was based on a lie. We all knew it, but I didn't know it went this deep, that they actually withheld evidence. I mean, they're going to have to go back and correct the record. They're going to have to go back and somehow, like, remove that impeachment completely from the historical record. Tulsi Gabbard releasing never-before-seen declassified documents exposing a coordinated deep state conspiracy inside the intelligence community to impeach Trump. Whistleblower, CIA analyst, self-declared registered Democrat, traveled with Vice President Biden to Ukraine, attended official Biden luncheons, admitted in his own filing to having zero firsthand knowledge of the Trump-Zelensky call, lied about contacting Adam Schiff's Democrat staff before filing, and relied on a key witness who co-authored a 2017 Russia hoax ICA, worked alongside disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok. The witness admitted he couldn't connect the same dots, had to read between the lines, and only perceived a quid pro quo in hindsight. The documents further reveal the whistleblower tried to block Devin Nunes, a Gang of Eight member legally entitled to view the disclosure, from seeing it, expressed dislike of the current FBI Director Kash Patel, and described NSC staffer Michael Ellis as slippery and untrustworthy. Atkinson never requested the actual call transcript, sent a criminal referral to DOJ on secondhand testimony, altered the whistleblower form to remove the firsthand knowledge requirement, ignored explicit DOJ guidance. The complaint didn't rise to the level of urgent concern. He wrote Congress anyway. The DOJ found no criminal violation. Nunes called it a staged attack by anti-Trump malcontents who believe they, not the American people, should determine who's president. If you remember, I do, the censorship was so bad at the time that Facebook and YouTube banned users for simply saying the whistleblower's name, Eric Ciaramella. Now here's video of Adam Schiff lying directly to the American people on the House floor during the impeachment hearing, claiming he had no idea who the whistleblower was, while his own staff had already been in contact with him. If you remember this, at the time, the censorship was so bad against President Trump and his supporters that Facebook and YouTube banned users for simply saying the whistleblower's name.
clear about several things about the whistleblower. First of all, I don't know who the whistleblower is. I haven't met them or communicated with them in any way.
Yeah, sure. That man belongs in prison. From damaging disclosures about the whistleblower's connection, Gabbard unveils newly declassified documents. This is her post. Newly declassified records expose how deep state actors within the intelligence community concocted a false narrative that Congress used to usurp the will of the American people and impeach duly elected President, real Donald Trump, in 2019. Today, we reveal the truth. Secondhand whistleblower accounts, ICIG weaponized the process, and then the sham impeachment proceeded. Let's see if we can take a look here. Weaponized whistleblower process. The so-called investigation relied on only secondhand evidence and a self-declared Democrat whistleblower who lied about speaking with Democrats in Congress. The Russiagate author is a key witness. One of the key sources was a co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax ICA, also a close colleague of discredited former FBI agent Peter Strzok. False narrative to impeach. ICIG exceeded statutory authority, ignored DOJ guidance to transmit the faulty complaint to Congress, which House Democrats peddled to drive the sham impeachment. Ratcliffe reveals now, CIA director, that Brennan, Comey, and Hillary Clinton are headed for an indictment over the Russia collusion hoax. Listen carefully.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals. Yeah. And why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make fair and just, bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
Director, one other question on this. Tulsi, as well as President Trump, used the word.
Yeah. It's long overdue for all of them to go to prison. And I'm not holding my breath, but I am saying a prayer. I'm going to tell you what this means. The deep state operatives who orchestrated this coup are now facing the consequences. CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirmed the referrals have been made for potential indictments against Brennan, Comey, and yes, Hillary Clinton. The spying, the lying, the election rigging, it's all coming to light. Alan Dershowitz, who defended President Trump during that sham impeachment, he put it perfectly, the evidence about the bias and credibility of the whistleblower was hidden by bureaucrats, a disservice to justice and the American people. Devin Nunes called it exactly what it is, a staged attack by anti-Trump malcontents who believe they, not the American people, you, should determine who is president. The deep state thought they were untouchable. Well, they thought wrong. Now, this is the moment that we have been waiting for. The truth is finally coming to light, and the people who tried to overthrow your president are facing real accountability. President Trump survived their coup attempt. He won re-election, and now his administration is methodically dismantling the deep state apparatus that tried to destroy him. This is what draining the swamp looks like. So I needed to share this video everywhere because your friends and family, they need to see these declassified documents with their own eyes. And drop a comment below and tell me, do you believe Brennan, Comey, and Clinton should face prosecution for their role in this? Yes or no? And since you made it to the end of the video, congratulations. I want you to join our list. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963 because when they bury us under cat videos and corporate spin and notifications never arrive, or we say a whistleblower's name and we get slap on the wrist, I will still be able to communicate with you directly. I will send you a direct text message with videos that we produce. I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to overload you. I'll be respectful, but I want to make sure we maintain that connection. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. And don't forget to check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. Wear your support for truth proudly. Subscribe to our channel. Tell your friends about us, because the establishment media will never cover this story honestly. We're only getting started. This is the beginning, and the best is yet to come. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi. Stay informed and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. Truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.